Sur For You Télévision. Bienvenue à ce bulletin d'information. Alors débutons justement en anglais avec vous, Jix Nabisse. Good day.
Bon après-midi, Bala. Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first segment of this midday bilingual newscast over For You Television, where we kick off in the Central African country of Chad, where on Saturday, August 20, officially started the opening conference with, of course, a national dialogue with more than 1,400 delegates from the military, civil society, opposition parties, trade unions, and rebel groups, which they gathered in Jamina for talks that are expected to last 3 weeks. The talks are the initiative of Army General Mahamat Idris Deby. The head of the transitional government described the forum as a decisive moment in the history of the country after arriving to open the forum. The agenda were peace, reforming state institutions, and a new constitution that will put it to their new referendum, and it should be noted that these will pave a way for the long-awaited elections. We now leave Central Africa to take you to Mali, where the transitional government of the West African country has appointed an interim prime minister to act in place of leader Chogo Maiga, who is resting amid media reports that he had been hospitalized. Colonel Abdoulaye Maiga, current government spokesperson and Minister of Territorial Administration, is the new acting prime minister, a government statement said. Earlier this month, Paris-based magazine reported that Chogo Maiga had suffered a stroke. According to foreign media, he was supposed to resume duties the previous week, but he did not. Mali has been governed by the military government since 2020 and after a coup, and it will hold elections come 2024. We stay in West Africa, but this time around we take you to Burkina Faso, where most of the people in the West African nation are worried as the shortage of fertilizer has threatened crops and food security. Since the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, the world's second largest exporter after China, imports have doubled and even tripled. Details with you, Futso.
In the middle of the rainy season, a crucial period for field work, many farmers have still not been able to find fertilizer. A situation that worries the people as much as Isufu Porgo, permanent secretary of the Peasant Confederation of Faso. In this semi-arid country of West Africa, where more than 80% of the population lives from agriculture, soaring input prices are hitting producers hard, who are dependent on imported fertilizer for the growth of their crops. At the end of February, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, the world's second largest exporter behind China, helped to inflame the price of nitrogen fertilizer. In West Africa, where 50% of urea and 70% of potassium, an essential component of NPK product, is imported from Russia, and prices have doubled and even tripled in some markets. Burkina Faso, which has the greatest shortage in the region, farmers fear catastrophic consequences for the agricultural campaign, already seriously impacted by jihadist violence, the effects of climate change, and the repercussions of the COVID-19 crisis. In the Suru Valley, one of the breadbaskets of the country in the North region, they were forced with the arrival of the first rain to start sowing without fertilizer. Urea and NPK granules, the most widely used product, cost 50% to 80% more according to data from Africa Fertilizer, a market data collection and analysis initiative. Up to 35,000 francs CFA per 50 kilograms bag compared to 19,000 francs CFA before. Even if Burkinabe farmers use 8 times less fertilizer than the world average per hectare, these inputs remain decisive for the yield for their crops, which are increasingly degraded by droughts in the Sahel.
We are still in the western part of the African continent, but this time around we move away to Ivory Coast, where former Ivorian First Lady Simeon Gbagbo formally launched her political party 3 years before the presidential elections. She has become the president of the MGC, Movement of Capable Generations. This move by the former First Lady comes at a time when she envisages cutting or ties with her soon-to-be ex-husband, Laurent Gbagbo, by who she stood during the 10 years of his presidential term and his judicial setbacks. The 73-year-old political figure criticized Alassane Ouattara's national reconciliation process, under which her ex-partner was handed a presidential pardon 2 weeks ago. According to Simeon Gbagbo, her part is going to be fighting against discrimination, defending loyalty, integrity, and incorruptibility in the country. We now take you to Somalia, where over 21 persons have died and 117 others severely injured following an attack by Al-Shabaab militants in Mogadishu, there in the country. The siege, which took place over the weekend, lasted for 30 hours and saw heavy human as well as material loss. Details with you, Mwanzi Joyogo.
Siege by Al-Shabaab militants in the Mogadishu hotel has left over 21 dead and 117 severely injured. For over 30 hours, security forces fought with Al-Shabaab militants hiding inside the Hyatt Hotel. Authorities said more than 106 hostages were freed.
During the operations, the security agents were focused on getting out the citizens. They managed to save more than 106 people, including children and women.
The attack started with 2 suicide bombings, followed by an assault by multiple gunmen who entered the building and targeted civilians. Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda-linked group existent in Somalia since 2006, describes itself as waging jihad against enemies of Islam and is engaged in fighting against the federal government of Somalia and the African Union mission to Somalia.
What happened here is a disaster. It is affecting us on 2 levels, as some of us know people who have died and are facing property destruction. The hotel siege lasted about 32 hours. Security forces and Al-Shabaab fought on top of us. As you can see, there are many properties torn. Such incidents are repetitive, and us young men are always the victims of such attacks.
The group claimed responsibility for the killings. The Hyatt Hotel is a favored meeting spot for government officials whom Al-Shabaab militants have been targeting for the last 15 years.
We now take you out of the continent to talk Africa-Japanese relations, where Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has tested positive for the COVID-19 pandemic to Tunisia to attend a key conference on Africa development, reports revealed on Sunday, August 21st, 2022. Kishida, who has just returned a week-long vacation, will work with from his residence as from Monday and will join the Tokyo International Conference on Africa Development online and will not be allowed to address the media. The 8th conference, and first since 2019, has been co-hosted with the United Nations, the World Bank, the African Union Commission. Amongst discussions is how to foster development on the African continent as well in Japan and help the continent recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, that will be it for this midday bilingual newscast over 4U television. In the meantime, stay in company of our programs.